because tonight will be the night that I will fall for you. Sorry, I'm trying an emo look for tonight to reach the kids.
No, yeah.
I think I might have missed a generation though.
Yeah, or 3.
Maybe I should have like electrical tape over my nipples and like fishnets and like
that's
be on ecstasy, otherwise known as MDMA. MDMA. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. So otherwise, Dane Gamgee.
yes.
At potentially the time of this release, you may or may not be a father.
Well, I hope that labor doesn't last 3 days, 4 days.
Well, Maury Povich might have something to say about that. Do you have anything to say about that? Are you guys going on the Povich show?
We're trying to keep Maury at bay.
Oh, okay, good. Thank God. It's a bad start to a relationship. Going on the Povich show.
Yes, as many of you know, we pre-record these episodes to give Nameless Faceless Guy and other Nameless Faceless Guy some time to do the audio and video editing for these, which means that by the time you are hearing this episode or seeing it, it is very likely, unless something goes horribly wrong, that I will be a new father. As terrifying of a thought as that is, which is all the more reason why you should donate to the podcast, because now you're not just supporting David and I, you're also helping feed an infant child.
You're using your child
my yet
as
to
a
be
vector
born.
of, oh,
Yes, and
Thought
you
we
know
couldn't get
why?
any
You know
lower.
why no shame? Because if this
there's
thing,
no shade in Dane's game.
if this
let me
thing
tell you.
becomes successful, and
Then you can sport little Ariana.
not only that, but when I pass to my eternal sleep, then she will be the beneficiary of whatever it is I
Will
accumulated.
she take
in this
up her
life.
father's stanchion
Yes,
and listen to
and destroy government
Tio David?
and shitty
Go-
cultural memes?
At that point, like, listen, I was around when your father was over there.
Listen, the only reason why you're going to outlive me is because I eat a lot more McDonald's than you do. That's it.
There's a multitude of reasons
But
why I'm going to outlive you.
pretty sure that your alcohol
Number one, my blood pressure doesn't go to fucking
that your
astronomical
alcohol
levels
consumption
every
is
time.
going to.
That's one vector, but but when you read this shit and I see your fucking BPM go to 160 and your HP go to fucking
The question
200.
is, dear listener or viewer, which is going to last longer, Dane's arteries and heart or David's liver?
Which is going to break first? The man or the tough titty?
Well, with language like that, you can bet that my adoring daughter is not going to be listening or
She is going to love
watching
her
this
Theo.
podcast.
Her Theo.
Yeah, but not the podcast anytime soon.
Well, of course
Trying to
not.
Try to
It's a
keep
little
her
course.
as innocent.
Number
and
one, I don't think she's going to understand the core concepts of what we're talking about here.
oblivious to the insanity.
She's
that-
not going to understand libertarian. She's not going to understand democracy. She's got those are really in-depth concepts. You want her to adjust to that at 2 years old?
no,
Just 2 years down the road. Why are you yawning? Am I boring you?
I want her to not hate me and say, Dad, why the hell did you bring me into this damn circus in the first place?
Well, I feel like that's just parenthood, sir. And you should have thought that out before you shot a live round down the chamber.
Wait a minute.
Whoa.
Anywho,
Things just got real.
so congratulations to me. Congratulations to her mother.
He procreated! Everyone!
It
Round
takes
of
a lot of
applause.
effort and expertise.
Guys, why don't you clap? All right, my emo-ness just fell.
bigger congrats to her mother
Yes,
for-
well done.
for not only
Nameless, faceless mother. as
growing
well.
her for 9 to 10 months, however long it is, but also
We call it incubating.
bringing her to life. So good job,
Excellent.
Mom.
Big fan. Big fan. Anywho,
With that
all that
extracurricular out of the way,
parental entrance aside, I'm so proud of you.
David as an uncle, it's disgusting.
It's well for like the 27th time, thanks to your.
I know, but this one you're actually going to play a part in her life, unlike the other ones.
Uncle David is a stanchion that I don't take lightly. Okay, do you understand me? Do you
It's not
understand me, sir?
okay. It's not all your fault. I mean, they are literally on the other
They
side
literally
of the
move
country.
everywhere. They're everywhere. They're in an RV. I can't move to.
You can make
save
it
it for off mic. We're going off mic with that conversation.
Let's not air locker room laundry out on the out to the public.
I'm getting emotional. Anyway, so before I get too verklempt, talk amongst yourselves. Duran was neither a Duran, nor was it a Duran. Discuss. Anyway, scene. You want to get into the main throes of this topic?
Let's do it.
You are okay. Meme destruction. I think that's what we're called. Weapons of. Yeah. Okay. We're gonna go with a meme. 2 balls and 1 bat.
Dun dun dun.
Anyway, culture corner. Canada prosecutes hurt feelings.
Don't go up to the Great White North anytime soon. Not if you value your freedom.
Comrade Trudeau wants to make sure that the people are happy. Anyway, Epstein. COVID-19 mask mandates and policies failed.
Or did they?
Shit.
You'll find out unless you're on YouTube because we're going to block out that segment.
Yeah, well, skip to the main, Brother Maynard. Our tolerance of corporate greed led to inflation. I'm sorry. I'm choking on irony. Move it into the...
Welcome to Weapons and Meme Destruction Podcast, episode 142, which can be found at wmdpodcast.com/142. You can get the audio only on any podcast catcher. Just search Weapons of Meme Destruction. You can get the video on YouTube, Rumble, and Odyssey, with the exception of the Epstein segment in today's episode. You'll be able to see it on YouTube. It'll be blocked out and will be muted so you can't hear us because we're talking about the no-no topic for the first time in several weeks, which... we're actually silver lining. We're kind of happy about that because that means it's behind us. But we cannot let these sons of bitches have narrative control, for posterity's sake. And then you can also link up with us on our non-podcast, but other socials, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. You can link up with us on private members only Facebook page. Go to the support our work tab at wmdpodcast.com.
Be cooler if it was a dab.
$5 a month. And that will get you into the private members only Facebook page. And then you can also find us on Tribel and Float. So that being said, David.
It fills my heart with so much joy every time you say Tribel.
Today's meme is the human personification of meme. And that's these people, as Nameless Faceless Guy shows you. And, it's not just these people, as we say all the time. Be an adult, live your life, don't give a shit what you do or how you do it. But don't expect the rest of the world to partake in your delusion. And the first thing I thought when I said, if you follow us over on Twitter at WMD Podcast, which you definitely should because we're hilarious and everybody likes us, is exactly what was posted on our Twitter with this page, which is, of all of the people who don't want the smoke, it's usually those who ask for the smoke the loudest that most assuredly do not want the smoke. And when I see individuals such as this walking down the street with their appropriately themed colored bats as if they intend violence on anybody who, either doesn't call them the right pronoun or support their political agenda. Bad move, folks. Bad move. I would not be threatening violence if I were you. There's very few good reasons to threaten violence on any issue. But on that one in particular, I think your hegemony in terms of getting all of the institutions and media and entertainment and government to support you, it's given you a false sense of how large your numbers actually are, such that you think that you can threaten violence and that won't turn out bad if you're actually met with it. I would be, step back a little bit, maintain some humility, be a little more peaceful in your discourse and in your actions. And that might do wonders for your desires for acceptance and tolerance.
I think what my beloved colleague is trying to say is that if your Achilles heel is not getting your pronouns right, you might not want to pick a fight. If you can't stand other people that view the world outside of your fictitious reality, and you can't live with that, and you need to speak to the manager, you might not want to pick a fight. If you've never been in a fist fight or grabbed aggressively, let me take that back. Second take. Outside of the sexual arena, if you haven't been grabbed aggressively, you might not want to pick a fight. If you haven't been trained in anything, if you've never stubbed your toe and been like, and then moved on, if you go, motherfucker, if you've ever done any of that, if you never engaged in an actual battle for anything that you believe in, you might not want to pick this fight. I know it's been easy coasting all the way up till you've got your 3 at-bats when you didn't deserve it. You got your A that your mother had to come in and argue with the teacher and threaten her job for. To get into the college that they had to give you special treatment for because you don't take tests well. All of that being said, you've never had a struggle in your life. And you're going to pick up a bat and you think that scares anyone that's had to do anything harder than you've ever done. Taxes. Have you ever done your own taxes? I don't think you could wipe your own ass without praising yourself. I did a good job today. Not as good as yesterday. I probably smell a little funky, but I'm me. And everyone has to accept my smell. And if they can't accept the smell of my own shit as wonderful in their life, then they're the bigot, not me. Don't pick a fight. Stop picking fights with people that know how to fight. Fair?
I think that's fair. I mean, I would even expand it to just say stop picking fights, period.
I thought you guys were pushing peace and love and understanding.
Yeah.
And inclusion.
Yeah.
But all you guys seem to do is segregate and push out and demonize.
And I mean, consistent with your delusional worldview, you also have these delusions of quote unquote transgenocide or the fact that you're somehow being targeted for the simple fact that a large portion of the population does not want their children to be propagandized at the age of 10 and under, and that largely that's where most of this political divide is at. Most of the time, it's not people saying that consenting adults that have thought through and got the appropriate, mental health and medical treatment to consider whether or not they want to consider transitioning and stuff like that. Most people are not objecting to that in any way, shape, or form.
Dang.
It's the push down to lower and lower, younger and younger segments of the population that has those individuals' parents concerned about the direction that it's going. So again, I wouldn't make enemies out of those people. Those people do not wish you any violence. They don't wish any harm comes to you, but they do want to protect their children. And if your response to that is, well, then I'm going to meet you with a bat, that's probably not going to do wonders for acceptance of whatever your worldview is. I'm just saying. I'm helping you help yourselves.
I just had an epiphany right now. And maybe they're playing 3D chess. Because I think in their heart of hearts, they know what we know is that we don't think about them ever.
At all.
Ever. and they keep taking to the streets, and they want to make martyrs of themselves because they think that when they make martyrs of themselves, that a population will grow. I stand with the transgenders. I'm transgender. I'm going to identify as another sexuality that I don't really feel like right now, but it'll accept me. My point being is like, if they die as martyrs, then their movement grows. But if we just keep continuing to ignore them, kind of like, Harry and Meghan, they go away eventually. But the problem is they're introducing legislation that won't let us ignore them anymore. And that's where the problem is.
Exactly. It's not simply about, as again, which is the most palatable to the general population, which is why they always claim it, is just let us live our truth, right? Let us live our lives in peace. Quit trying to stop us from being, who we are authentically, right? And again, like I said, the vast majority of people are not trying to deny that to consenting adults. Again, you can do whatever you want with your body. It's your body.
Don't give a fuck.
Stop propagandizing kids. Stop demanding that if people don't call you by your preferred pronoun, that you be criminally punished for it. Stop imposing your worldview on other people. If it was truly just about tolerance and acceptance and you just wanted to live as you lived without society coming down on you, you already had that.
And by the way,
you had the ability to do that.
Nobody
you didn't
accepts
have
reality.
to appeal to legislation and propagandizing kids to get that. But what you're doing is you're turning people against you such that you now have, in some cases, a legitimate concern of fear for your personal safety. And that's because you're pushing too far. And a bat's not going to do any good. So again, like David was saying, stop threatening people. Not only do you not want that smoke, but it's not helping you if your only motivation is tolerance and acceptance. It's going in the opposite direction. So
I don't know. I don't know, man.
Anyway, let's move on from these walking, talking memes and get into the culture corner. What do you say?
Please.
Culture
Canadians.
Corner. Staying on brand with this group of individuals.
The poutine.
We have within the last couple weeks. This was early May. I know we're a little bit late on this, but this is once you see it, you can't unsee it kind of thing. So even if we show you this thing in 20 years, you're gonna remember that you saw this. We have Canadian politician Kristen Wong-Tam, who uses the pseudo pronouns they, them, proposes legislation to criminalize offensive remarks within 100 meters of a drag queen story hour.
Quick question, Dane.
What?
Does it really say pronouns? They, them?
What are you talking about?
You just said whatever her name was, Wong. I heard Wong.
Yeah, I don't know if what I just read was a tweet from, so that is his characterization of it. I don't know if she personally uses those pronouns or if he's just saying that like she uses them for other people.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I have no idea.
I was just a little concerned
in this.
It seems if she did say that, she was already leaning definitely one way.
In this 30-second clip that we're getting ready to play, I did not hear herself refer to herself as they, them. That's all I'm saying. But I would not be remotely surprised.
Quick question, side note. If they, them refer to themselves as bug, if I commit murder, did I just squish a bug?
Yes.
That's
just biology.
That'd be my defense.
That's biology and social constructs, David.
Clearly.
So we're going to let you hear from Canadian politician Kristen Wong-Tam for 30 seconds. She's going to tell you that in Canada, sorry to inform you, Canadians and people who maybe wanted to visit the Great White North, Canada has fallen. Because now in Canada, you can get thrown in jail for saying mean words to the special rainbow people. Let's hear what Wong-Tam has to say about this particular policy.
Firstly, it enables the Attorney General to create a 2S LGBTQI+ community safety zone to prohibit within 100 meters of the property any homophobic, transphobic act of intimidation, threat, offensive threats, offensive remarks, protest, disturbance, and distribution of hate propaganda within the meaning of the criminal code. It also comes with it a penalty of $25,000 if prosecuted successfully.
So you heard that right. When people say, and I know because I remember in 2018 or 2017 when Jordan Peterson really started to pop off, because again, what got Jordan Peterson famous was simply saying that free speech is free speech, and you calling yourself whatever you want to call yourself is one thing. But if you're going to threatening me with throwing me in a cage for not properly pronouncing you, that's where I draw the line, because that's compelled speech that utterly and completely flies in the face of the concept of free speech. And I'm not doing it. And he called their bluff and said, good, throw me in the cage. And they didn't do it because they're cowards. Fundamentally, they are always, at the end of the day, cowards. They talk a big game and they act tough, not unlike the meme we just talked about. But they're cowards. But when the Jordan Peterson thing happened, there was a flood of articles that came out, fact-checking articles. It's a myth. You're not going to jail for, mean words in Canada, blah, blah, blah. Well, you just heard Miss Wong Tam, in her own words, she said in that long list of prohibited actions within 100 meters of a drag queen story hour, that for, quote, offensive remarks within the meaning of the criminal code, you can be prosecuted up to and including $20,000 fines. Now, that means that mean words, offensive remarks, and again, remember, this is offensive remarks to people who make it a career out of finding offense in everything. So, breathing too heavily to where they could hear it is probably an offensive remark. Offensive remarks
man breathing
are criminalized in Canada, at least where I don't know what Wong Tam is. I don't know if she's I don't know if she's a federal politician, a state politician, a county, a local, school board person. I have no idea what her level of power is. So whatever policy she wants, I don't know how far across Canada it spreads, but that's it. So don't let any fact checkers from Snopes or any of those other, bullshit websites that want to come along after the fact and tell you that you didn't hear what you just heard or saw what you just saw, and that there's no such thing as criminalizing mean words in Canada. There is, at least where I'm going to do it so David laughs again, where Wong Tam is the premier of that area, is the chief prefect in charge. Yeah, can't do that. And by the way, I'm hoping. I think Nameless Faceless Guy does put up the videos when we play clips like this. And look at the clown show behind her. That's like.
I hope he puts it.
This is,
or is it this side? Was this better?
If the people in this clip did not actually look like real human beings, I would think that this was a South Park clip. I mean, Trey Parker and Matt Stone have their work cut out for themselves if they're going to keep up with this craziness to try to one up it for a new segment, because this is something else.
Well, seeing as Dane's cut into my time on this particular subject, I just want to explain myself. When you say Wong Tam,
I didn't say it like that.
You said Wong Tam.
Yeah.
You said Wong Tam.
I said Wong Tam.
It's like, why are you late? Because I got the Wong Tam.
David?
It's not my fault. You need to not name yourself in a stereotypical way. That's your fault. That's Dick Johnson. That's fucking Mike Hunt. That's ridiculous.
David, are you suggesting that people from other cultures should not
They should
name
be aware of
themselves?
how their names are said in other cultures. That's being socially woke. Wake up, people.
Listen,
anyway,
I am not co-signing that particular position of David's. So,
why were you late? Won't happen. Anyway, my psychosis. All I have to tack onto that is the prophet George Carlin, or what do they call him when he was alive?
Comedian?
Oh, comedian. George Carlin said that they're trying to control speech because speech is language and you think in language. Therefore, if they can control speech, they can control. Let me take that one more time. If they can control speech, they can control your thoughts because you think in language. Speech equals language, language equals thought. There you go. So if they can control what you say out loud, eventually over time, they can control what you think, which becomes newspeak, right, Dane? Very Orwellian, very weird that they could predict this, that they can control how you do things. And that's why Jordan Peterson, as he mentioned so succinctly, said what he said. Like he said, I will not be compelled to call somebody something. I will call you what you asked me to call you as a respect. I think this is his standpoint, and I'm paraphrasing, so correct me if I'm wrong. He said, I will call you what you wish to be called out of respect for you as a human being, but I will not be told by any authority figure what I have to call you. And that's the difference. I am free to act of my own volition, therefore reality remains. But if I'm compelled to engage in a false reality, that is where the thread of reality crumbles. Bet you didn't think I was going to say shit like that when I started this whole diatribe off with long time.
Again, just for posterity, I'm laughing at like uncomfortable.
You don't have to explain
laughter.
why you laughed. It was funny. That's the whole point. Control speech. Stop explaining. Stop explaining your white guilt. I get it. We all get it. You're white. You're guilty.
But besides,
fucking move on.
Besides, with our last names, which we, don't say around these parts.
Stop it.
We don't have much room to be talking about people's
more
last
than the
names.
other, though.
Anyway.
Anywho.
With that being said, moving on to the Epstein segment, and unfortunately, if you're on YouTube, I'm fading out as we speak.
No. And with that being said, can we do the sweet ass Wayne's World fade back into YouTube?
Yes.
Ready? Hands
we're
up.
both doing it?
Yeah. Bitch.
So, welcome back, YouTube folks. For the main part of the episode today, we're talking about victim blaming. Victim blaming of all of us, the victims of terrible monetary policy by the Fed and the
You used to
federal
think
government.
it was just within a relationship. Nevermore. Nevermore.
Because the bankers and the politicians that they've captured that actually run the world, don't you know, they never make
Who runs the world?
They never make
Girls. Who runs the world? Girls. Who runs the... Not a Queen Bee fan?
No, I'm not. When I was like 13 and I was,
Destiny's Child.
had a crush on
that
her.
little, yeah.
Since she's gone batshit crazy, no.
When they were, what was that song?
I'm straight.
When they're all on an island, like 3 of them. There was 4 of them at the beginning. Then they became 3, and then all of a sudden it was just the one.
Survivor.
I'm a survivor. TRL. It was like Beyonce had like that straight line. She had like
anyway, train track rails. I'm gonna start calling this segment Norfolk Southern.
Don't get the reference, but
soon.
all I'm saying,
Norfolk Southern was the train that
all I'm saying is that was my
East
adolescence.
Palestine, Ohio.
She helped develop me as a man.
Anywho, the victim blaming we're talking about here is it's your fault, citizen. It's your fault that inflation has been as high and as long lasting as it has been.
Yeah, you fucking greedy assholes. Look at you. You greed that you want to feed your family. You want to enjoy your time on this planet. How dare you?
Because
how dare you?
You scumbag. What you've been doing is letting the corporate greedy fat cats
let them know, Dane,
get away scot-free and just jacking up prices, and you just keep buying.
Smackdown.
It's terrible.
Look at you.
How dare you assume that you can have omelets in this economy? You know,
you think you can afford McDonald's?
Eat some steel-cut oats.
You want a steak?
Maybe chew on some water the next time you get hungry.
Eat grasshoppers, motherfucker. Okay? You think you want to fly on a private jet? Economy class, all the way in the back, middle seat. Suck it. And you should be happy to be there.
So in this article, originally published on Bloomberg, but in the link below, you'll see it's by a publication called The Business Standard. We have the title of the article, "We've all been way too accepting of inflation." Subtitle, "It's time customers push back against price increases. Corporate profits shouldn't grow at the expense of the economy." Now, we're not going to go into this whole corporate profits or the driver of inflation because we've done that before. But what we are going to talk about is this persistent, and again, this is a meme that must be destroyed. And in keeping with the theme of not allowing the evil bastards that have put us in this situation to rewrite history and make it seem like it's anybody's fault other than their beloved central bankers that set the monetary policy that create these situations, is we're not going to let them rewrite history and claim that it's just corporate greed is the reason why inflation has been so large and long lasting.
We all remember.
That's not the case. You choosing to buy food, clothing, and shelter that you need to survive and maintain some semblance of the standard of living you had before is not what's contributing to this.
We all remember.
It's the Federal Reserve. That's where it begins and ends, and fuck those bastards.
We all remember the vote that was handed out to every single American citizen that said, do you or do you not want us to print out 40% of the monetary sum that's ever existed ever? And we said yes. And what we got in return was $1,400. We all said that. We all signed that bill, Dane. Take responsibility for your actions that you didn't do, Dane. In fact, I would argue that probably the majority of the country was saying, don't do that because you're going to fuck us in the long run. And they said at the time, no, this will not have any effect on inflation. Any. Zero whatsoever. they just said, you get a free $1,400. And we all signed that bill. We all did. All 390, damn near 400 million of us signed it.
You talking about United States?
Yeah, 340. You round up.
To 390. You increase
And then
it
you
by
round that one
like
up.
30%.
It's what they do. Why can't I do this shit?
It is true.
They're going to blame us for shit we don't do. We're going to blame them for shit they don't do.
New Google stats. Population of America, 400 million. Right, take it to the bank. Not fake news.
Call us wrong, bitch.
Can't cancel us.
We're the 40th Australian news podcast, bitch. Can't wipe us off. Anyway, all I'm saying is, like, we had nothing to do with any of this. We had every objection to it, and they went ahead and did it anyway, and now they're holding us responsible for what they did. Don't forget that. I hand my time back over to Dane.
So I just did, while David was talking, I just did a word search in this article for the phrase or the term Federal Reserve. Because, again, to anybody with an IQ above whatever the core inflation rate is right now, which is about 5%, you know that inflation begins and ends as a cause with pumping fake, useless dollars into an economy for no other reason other than, as the Fed would call it, quantitative easing. That's what causes inflation. It's not greedy corporations, because I assume that the corporations didn't wait to be greedy right when prices started to rise. I assume they were greedy for the last 10, 20, 30, 40, forever years, as, you know, the progressive socialists would tell you. The corporations have always been and always will be greedy. So I don't know why that would all of a sudden factor into why inflation has been so high and persistent. It's the Federal Reserve. It's them pumping trillions of dollars into the economy backed by nothing. So the goods and services that you are using your dollars to pay for rise commensurate with the amount of green pieces of paper circulating in the economy to buy them. Because, again, the paper is more and more worthless the more that's pumped into it. So you need more of the paper to buy things. So, as I said, I word searched the phrase Federal Reserve in this article just to see, did it even come up? There were 2 hits in this relatively long article. One is under a picture of people shopping outside of a I Love New York gift store. And it says, quote, increase in core inflation is poised to drive the Federal Reserve to continue its most aggressive series of interest rate hikes in decades. So notice that, to drive the Federal Reserve. The inflation was pre-existing and it's a result of corporate greed. And that's forcing the Federal Reserve to act, as opposed to the Federal Reserve is the cause, and now the Federal Reserve, trying to fix its own fuck up, is now acting. But you see how they twist that? The Federal Reserve is just an innocent actor like you and me. They're trying to fix it, but it wasn't their fault for getting it caused in the first place. And the second phrase, quote, because they refer to the 1960s when there was high inflation. The women-led grocery store boycotts of the 1960s in the U.S. were ultimately unsuccessful in driving down inflation. And inflation was only stamped out years later by the Federal Reserve hiking interest rates to punishing levels. But today's consumers have a far more effective tool than placards, social media. So what the author wants you to do is bitch about it on social media that prices are high and that it's the cause of corporate greed, and don't look behind the curtain and think that it might be the Federal Reserve, because, you know, they'll just come along after the fact and raise rates and that will fix it. Thank God for the Fed.
Here's the thing though, Dane. When they were winding out this policy, I remember being very young and discussing economics with my father. And it wasn't in depth. He was explaining basic interest in this, that, and the other. And I was like, Dad, why doesn't the government just print off enough money for everyone to be a millionaire? That way we don't, you know, everybody gets to be a millionaire. Why doesn't that work? And he explained, like, well, in a very succinct manner, if you only had this to eat, he took 1 pretzel, how much does that mean to you? I was like, I mean, if that's the only thing I had to eat, I don't really like pretzels, but And he goes, imagine the value of that. And then all of a sudden, there's 2 pretzels. And then I was like, okay, so now I have 2 pretzels. He's like, no. Well, what about that first pretzel? He said, now that pretzel is worth half because now there's 2. Now you have 2 pretzels. So now you don't have to protect that with your whole life. You still have this pretzel. Now imagine you have another pretzel. What does that do? It's like, so basically he was explaining inflation to me as a second grader. I think we were on a plane before we were taking off. Yeah, I lived a really lavish life. Sorry, as a 7-year-old. Anyway, all that being said, he was explaining basic inflation to me. And I understood it as a second grader. You mean the best and the brightest minds that we have in this country to date didn't see printing out 40% of the amount of money that's ever been printed by the Fed would have astronomical consequences in inflation. I understood that concept when I was 7.
Which leads you to believe that they probably did.
They're
know.
either stupid, as we always say, or they're evil. Neither one are a good option.
Or they have reckless disregard for what they know will be the case, which
would make them evil.
Again, why wouldn't they? If the ultimate goal is, as this podcast and a few others have tried to start blowing the whistle on, is that the end game is central banking digital currencies, CBDCs, where paper money is now gone. The only money that will be exchanged in the economy is a central bank token, which, again, just a simple press of the button, they can just inflate away the value of that as well. Or, if you're too much of a political dissident or whatever, they just turn it off and no more groceries or electricity for you, citizen. That's got to be the end game, because I cannot think even a mindlessly and hopelessly indoctrinated Keynesian like the morons that run the Federal Reserve currently and have for quite some time. Even those guys can't be so dumb and economically illiterate to not know that that's exactly what was going to happen when they printed off that much money in that short of amount of time. Of course they knew. So are they evil bastards trying to force us into a monetary collapse that they're going to come along after the fact and say, listen, guys, we buried ourselves under so much debt, we can't possibly dig ourselves out of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to repudiate the debt. We're going to say the dollar doesn't exist anymore. Now the central banking digital currency does. Everybody's going to get their allotment according to the amount of green pieces of paper they had under the previous regime. And now that's what everybody uses to transact in the economy. Boom. Done. Over. Complete digitization of the money overnight. And that is a dystopian nightmare of your worst possible dreams. Is that the direction they're pushing? Are they really that evil? Or are they really that stupid that they didn't see it coming? I don't know which is the case, but I know that whatever their policy solution is to dig us out of their fuck up is probably going to be worse than whatever they did to get us into it. But if you listen to the people that write articles like this that we're talking about today, that whole group of actors who did that are simply just mere bit part players in this whole thing, and not the driving impetus behind it. So read between the lines when you read articles like that, and come over to Weapons of Meme Destruction to get the real news, because these sons of bitches will lie you right off a cliff and you'll never know what hit you until it's too late.
Well, all I'll surmise this with is that it feels like doesn't this feel like a let them eat cake moment? Like, we did all the wrong things that they fought us so long to do, and we'll let them handle the repercussions of the things that they were fighting us to do, and we'll blame them for it. And again, we will never be accountable. Isn't this the I cheated on you because you weren't giving me what I wanted? You weren't satisfying my needs. So now it's your fault. I'm not accountable for my actions anymore. And isn't that just government? If there's, can we make this a like fodder for the podcast? It's like government is your toxic ex-girlfriend. They will always blame you for everything that went wrong, even though they caused every calamity within your relationship. Fair enough? I mean, we're 142 episodes in. We've only ever offered like what they've done wrong and what they've blamed us for. And trust us, like we want to give you that. Here's a happy-go-lucky feeling story. This is what's working out in the world today, but we don't get that. You never get that. You might get a firefighter rescues a cat in a tree. Yay. But again, can I get a kumbaya moment? Most of life is overcoming adversity. What you get on screens is negativity. Therefore, go out, live your life, enjoy yourself, be free, stop imposing your viewpoints on everyone else's, and they'll stop imposing them on you, and live your life as an American, and we are all together. Kumbaya, my lord. Dane is staring at a screen. Are we done with this episode? Where can they find this episode?
You know what I just saw?
Oh, no.
One of the, yes, by the way, I have nothing else to say on that topic.
I understood
so
that. I understood that when you started.
I just thought you would get a kick out of this.
Go ahead.
These algos are just unstoppable. In that article where they're talking about, it's your fault for inflation and, if not outright saying, definitely hinting at,
grasshoppers are really high in protein. Have you know that?
At societal collapse. There's an ad from a company called ReadyWise for 4,320 servings of long-term emergency food supply. Pay $8,000, and I did it. I divided it by 9, assuming a family of 3 at 3 meals a day. How long will this much food last you? 480 days. Little over a year. So for $8,000, you can have 48 pouches of cheesy lasagna, 72 pouches of creamy pasta, 48
all these
pouches of
bat-toting motherfuckers, all these fucking soft coastal motherfuckers are going to be gone within the first 10. They have no idea how to survive out in the world. They don't even like guns. They've never fired one. Oh, it's gross. Like, not to go in a dark turn. I was kumbaya just a second ago, but like all the coastal elites within 10 days are either eating humans or they're dead. They don't know how to hunt. They don't know how to farm. They don't know how to grow agriculture. They're not concerned with it. They poo-pooed it. They look down upon it.
This is 36 total buckets with grab-and-go handles for easy transport in an emergency with a 25-year shelf life.
Are they paying us, Dane?
That's impressive.
Are they paying us?
A 25-year shelf life.
Are they paying us? They should, because we just gave them a free advertisement.
8 Gs for a little north of a year's worth of food? And even longer if you do less than 3 meals a day.
They're selling the product. We need to reach out to them, and this is probably the first commercial right now.
All right, before we wrap this up, you remember when we tried to do some like Facebook marketing, so we kind of saw the behind the scenes piping of how the marketing works? Yeah, we were miserable failures.
Yeah!
We were miserable failures.
It's an inside joke between the two of us.
And actually, not coincidentally, we were miserable failures
By the way, I'm a little upset this is showing up on my advertisements, by the way, because it knows what I'm looking at or what you're looking at.
We were miserable failures to the degree that this 4,320 servings costs. Lost about 8 Gs, and that's what this costs.
They're closing in on us.
Could have had food for a year for
We
25 years worth of.
Could have, or we could have just hunted one elk.
That's interesting. Anyway, about the social media marketing behind the scenes. So you remember how you would plug in the parameters for where your marketing went? Somebody plugged in the parameters that it's like news article.
Libertarian podcast.
No.
Anarchical.
You're missing the point. It's attached to the article that's talking about inflation being high, right? The underlying theme is probably societal collapse, blah, blah, blah. It's brilliant. That
fear-mongering.
It's
fear-mongering. It's tacking on to fear-mongering.
Popped
it's
up
gross.
on that article.
And it's psychological warfare. And
I think we should definitely buy some. You got 8Gs laying around?
You see how it works? You just saw how they work in real time. Thank you, Dane.
None of this was useful for you unless...
No, that was an educational moment.
Unless you're a prepper and you need food.
That's how they get you. That's how they get you. And then all of a sudden, the next moment, you think the earth is flat. But don't go there. What we're saying is very true. It's very real. They will equate us to preppers. They'll equate us to doomsdayers. They'll equate us to flat earthers. We are not flat earthers. What we are arguing is the simple fact that we're watching our society, our world society, decay because of this lack of accountability from everybody that's leading us, and they aren't fit to lead anymore. We're still cognizant. We're not prepping a silo full of potable water with 5 Malinois to protect this facility. We're not doing that. We're not that far in yet.
I don't see why not.
That will disclose. Dang, where can they find this podcast? I'm trying to repair dams, and you're just like, fuck those dams.
You can find this episode at wdpodcast.com/142. They can find the audio only on any podcast catcher. Just search Weapons of Meme Destruction. They can get the videos on YouTube, Rumble, and Odyssey. Sorry for you YouTube folks. Go over to Rumble if you want to catch that Epstein segment that we had to cut out for you. And then you can also link up with us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Private members only Facebook page for $5 a month. Just click the support our work tab over on the website. And then you can also link up with us on Float and Tribel. And definitely like, subscribe, share, tell all your friends and family about the podcast, and sign up for that email list over at wdpodcast.com. It's the most important way to keep in contact with us. And listen, when you're in your bunker eating your 1,800 calories a day from your 4,320 servings of long-term emergency food supply that has a shelf life of 25 years, you're going to be wanting to listen to the Weapons of Meme Destruction. And if, by the grace of God, you have electricity and are able to still get our emails from our email list,
after the implicit nuclear explosion,
we will keep you entertained.
EMP that comes with
it. That's not the only way society collapses, David. It does in other ways too. And when you want to go to your bunk...
Pause, off camera. We've done enough today.
Oh, yeah.
We've done enough today.
That's where you find us. Come back for episode 143. We love you.
Yeah. Anyway, as always, kiddos, stay safe, but more importantly, stay free.